Welcome back to the channel, folks, where today we look at another episode in our Field Botany series, today being mid-July 2026 in Season 2, where the UK is experiencing a drought and heatwave. The plant genus in question has a number of herbal and culinary uses, including the flavouring of beer and the production of botanical liquors. The plant that we are looking at today is none other than Mugwort or Artemisia vulgaris, an aromatic plant in the family Asteraceae. Common Mugwort Artemisia vulgaris should not be confused with its close cousin Artimisia absinthium, used in the making of absinthe. In the following sequence of slides looking at the flower head, we follow the progression of buds through to the flowering, where the purple, brown, orange flowers of about 3 to 5 millimeters in diameter emerge. The small brown flowers are fairly nondescript, but nevertheless contain all of the features described in our 5-minute family series on the Asteraceae, and we urge you to have a look on the playlist. The following slides show the stems of this perennial, which are upright, woody with a white pith, grooved and purplish red in colour. The stems arise from a fibrous woody rootstock, this one already being detached from the bridge structure. The lower leaves of mugwort spiral around the stem. They are about 5 to 8 centimetres and are deeply lobed and toothed. As we move towards the flower head, the upper leaves become more lanceolate in appearance. The following slides show the upper and lower surfaces of the basal leaves. The upper surface or adaxal surface is dark green, and the lower surface or abaxal surface of the leaf is a light glaucous green due to the presence of hairs. After flowering, the plant will produce a nut-like cylindrical fruit without a parachute of the order of 1 to 2 millimeters in size. This in turn produces one seed which is not released. Welcome back, folks, for another episode in Field Botany. We're today being the 29th of July 2026 in Season 2, we're looking at another plant in the series. The plant that we're looking at is a plant known as Artemisia vulgaris, or the mugwort, and it is a plant in the family Asteraceae, not to be confused by its close cousin Artimisia absinthium, which is used in the bright green botanical liquor known as absinthe. And incidentally, if it's served properly, it should be served with a spoonful of sugar, so bitter is the taste. So the habitat in which we find mugwort, as I say, is generally waste places, waysides, roadsides, and anywhere where human beings tend to have lived, because it has been cultivated in the past. Its uses, well, the herbalistic uses are many, but one notable use, which was very evident in the mid-15th century, was in brewing, and it was used to flavour ales known as groots by adding a bitter flavour. However, by the 1550s, that use had petered out in favour of hops, and one of the reasons for that is the plant contains an active principle known as Thujone, and Thujone has a side effect of promoting lucid dreams. So as a consequence, hops tend to be favoured from that point onwards. The overall appearance of the plant, it's a fairly nondescript plant with deeply divided leaves, which are dark green on the adaxal or upper surface, and a very distinct pale glaucous green on the abaxal or underside of the leaves. This plant isn't in flower, but the flower buds and flowers are also fairly nondescript. The flower buds are glaucous green in colour, and when they come into flower they turn a yellowy brown, predominantly brown colour. So that's the overall appearance of the plant in situ. We're now going to take a closer look at the botany of this. And if by magic we see the purplish reddish brown florets of mugwort. Habitat. Mugwort is a perennial of waste ground and wayside and embankments, often associated with human activity. It prefers disturbed habitats and areas preferring low nitrogen soils. On the day of our sun-scorched visit, we found a plant growing in the shade of an iron bridge, where in fact there was little or no soil at all. So folks, before we embark on our journey into the field, let us look at the features and characteristics which will enable us to identify and find it in the field. As always, we provide you with a detailed botanical slide for those of you who may wish to study the plant in more detail, and it can be stopped at any point to review. Mugwort is a herbaceous perennial of waste ground, wayside and embankments. It grows to a height of between 1 and 2 metres, and it flowers between the months of July and September. Within each inflorescence, the flower heads are 3 to 6 millimetres long, reddish brown, yellowish or purplish in colour, egg-shaped, unstalked and borne in panicles. The inflorescence, as stated, is arranged as a panicle, and a panicle is a much branched inflorescence. If you haven't seen our 5-minute family on the Asteraceae, we urge you to have a look, where the common characteristics of the Asteraceae are revealed. Typical of the Asteraceae, the outer ray florets are female, and the inner disc florets are both male and female. The flower diameter is 2 to 4 millimetres wide and therefore small, and circa 5 millimetres long. The sepals are absent, and they are 5 petals, which are tubular and equal. They are 5 stamens joined into a tube, and 1 stigma, which consists of a 2-lobe style, which is long. There is 1 ovary below the petals, which is 1-celled, and therefore it is an inferior ovary. There are limited confusion species in the UK, which can be separated by differential keying. Artimisia absinthium is fairly distinct, having an upper adaxil surface which is glaucous green and a more pronounced yellow flower, making it distinguishable. After flowering, mugwort forms a cylindrical, nut-like fruit without a parachute. Its size is typically 1 to 1.5 millimetres, and it contains 1 seed which is not released and unusually does not have a parachute. And finally, the vegetative characteristics: the root, stem and leaves. The stem is upright, often leafy. It is grooved, purple, with a wide pith, and are many branched. The roots are horizontal stalk of rhizomes, and the leaves are deeply divided, the adaxil or upper surface being dark green, and the abaxil or lower surface being silvery grey from the fine downy hairs. The leaves on the flower spike tend to be simple or lanceolate and smaller, and when the leaves are crushed they are aromatic, smelling not unlike lavender. Okay folks, I'm going to have a little go at describing this plant off the top of my head from root to flower. As we can see, this plant has found purchase on an old railway bridge, and we can see from this specimen that was found here that the root structure is a branch stalk with a fibrous fibrous attachments coming off the main rootstock. As it emerges from the soil, or in this case the shallow bridge, it forms a grooved stem which is slightly hairy and has ridges and turns to purple as we move up the stem. The leaves, which are best seen on this specimen, which is fresher, are spirally arranged around the stem. And as we can see, as we approach the top of the plant, those leaves become smaller. As you can see, we're actually on a railway bridge between two metal spans, which is keeping the wind noise down, but unfortunately not the train noise below us. So that's the arrangement of the leaves around the stem. Let's have a look and try to describe those leaves. The leaves are deeply toothed and glaucous green on the underside or the abaxial surface, and a dark green on the upper surface or edaxial side. So that is very distinct. The plant overall is relatively indistinctive. There's no outstanding characteristic that will poke you in the eye. As we move up the stem and the leaves decrease in size, we will come to the flower heads, which in this case our timing on mugwort isn't so good. There are no flower heads to be seen here, but they are generally, when in bud, also glaucous green and relatively indistinctive. However, if we examine using a loupe or a magnifier those flower heads, we will see they have the typical form of the family Asteraceae. And I urge you to look at the 5-minute family video, which explains some of those characteristics. So let's just briefly describe the floristic characteristic of the plants which are formed on the spike when they are in flower. Typical of the Asteraceae, each flower consists of outer female florets and a multiple composite centre containing the disc florets, which are composed of 5 tubular petals joined with the attached stamen in it. Within that tubular flower there is one stigma which is branched on a long style and one ovary which is one-celled. So that's the contents of each individual little flower when the plant actually does flower, and we'll see that later in the video. After the plant is flowered, it will go to fruit and seed, and the fruit is 1 to 1.5 millimeters in length, so it's very tiny, and the seeds which it produces are smooth, cylindrical, and also quite small, and are not released from the plant. Bearing in mind that the plant is a perennial. So now we have the plant, which is mugwort, one of the mugworts, Artimisia vulgaris. Again, if we contrasted this plant with the Artimisia absinthium, we would see the flowers are actually brighter yellow. On this specimen of vulgaris, the flowers would be 4 to 6 millimeters, and they would be reddish brown in colour, as opposed to the more yellow colour of the Artimisia absinthium. So that's just a little piece of background on the botany of the plant. We'll be looking at these details now in the up and coming clips. And finally, before looking at some more footage of the plant, we look at the naming and uses of mugwort. Mugwort is known by a number of common vernacular names, notably wormwood, filen herb, St John's plant, sailor's tobacco, maidenwort, old Uncle Henry, bullwand, or green finger, and it is a member of the family Asteraceae. The Ukrainian name for mugwort is Chernobyl, which translates to black stock, which is also the name of the city of Chernobyl. The Latin binomial is fairly straightforward, and the prefix Artemisia is reflected by the Greek goddess Artemis, associated with the hunt and fertility, and consequently much of its use in medicinal herbalism. The suffix vulgaris simply means common in Latin. Mugwort has an established tradition of use as a medicinal herb and a culinary use, both in the bittering or flavouring of beers and the creation of cakes or confection in Eastern culture, where it is widely eaten as a food. Mugwort contains an active principle or chemical known as Thujone, which is used as a flavouring, fragrance and in some traditional medicines. And one of the side effects of Thujone is that it can promote lucid dreams. So folks, let us allow the plant to speak for itself. Well folks, that's all from me on the mysteries of Mugwort. Once again, thank you very much indeed for watching. If you have liked or enjoyed this video or found it interesting or educational, please like, share and subscribe to help this channel become a success and bring another. In the meantime, all that remains to be said, in the words of Maggie, our international symbol of floral appreciation, is go outdoors and enjoy the great British summer.